This is a brief review of the first episode of the Amazon series House of David. House of David is a series. The first episode is A Shepherd and King. Now, people should realize, if you're doing this in a Bible study or a church setting, at the very beginning of every episode is this warning, this preface. Some of the events depicted in this series may not accurately represent all historical and biblical facts or figures. While we have made efforts to portray certain aspects of history authentically, creative liberties have been taken for storytelling purposes. Again, creative liberties have been taken for storytelling purposes. Read this carefully, understand it. Realize this is not a movie that is going to be exactly the biblical story. It is based on the biblical story, but obviously, in a movie, you're going to have embellishments. Again, I emphasize the introductory warning. I've seen some people on YouTube freaking out because, they put things in here that are not in the Bible. Well, of course they have. It's a movie. This is the case with all works of visual art based on biblical narratives. Whenever you see a depiction of David, or Mary, or any biblical character, you're seeing an image from somebody's imagination, or you're seeing an image that's based on some person who is posing for the shot, or for the sculpture, or for the painting, or something out of the artist's mind. The movie is not intended to replace the Holy Inspired text. It is meant to be interpreted intelligently. So don't come to this movie stupidly thinking that you're going to see everything in here is from the Bible. It's obviously not, and they're very openly telling you that at the beginning of every episode. So pay attention to the warning. You'll notice that at the very beginning of the first episode, there's this flashback or flash forward to the scene where David faces Goliath, and right away we have an embellishment. In the embellishment, Goliath throws multiple spears at David, and one of them he almost skewers him, and David is wounded. Is any of this in the text? No. Is David wounded by a spear in the text? No. And yet, here it is at the very beginning before we even get through the opening credits. There's something that's not in the story. And we see a great cast here. Michael Iskender is David, Ali Suleiman is Saul, Yali Topot Margalit is Mirab, Ethan Kai stars as David as Jonathan, Andy Lewis stars as Mirab, and Oded Fair does a great job as Abner. And realize that what we know about David so far, once we get to 1 Samuel 15, is David is the younger son of Jesse of the tribe of Judah. He's part Moabite, the grandson of Ruth. Also, later on in the story, we see that David claims to have killed a lion and a bear. In this episode, based mainly on 1 Samuel 15, most of this is confirmed. We also meet the family of Saul as described in 1 Samuel 14, 49 through 52. So, these things are validly learned from what you see on screen. Now, there is a lot of extra things thrown in, and some things are very impressive, even though they're not really spelled out in the Bible. We see a great depiction of a lion. I don't know who this lion is, but he should get an Academy Award for being a very excellent lion. This lion is scary. This lion is fierce. This lion shows you the damage a lion can do. We also have a great scene where this might have been left out of this kid's Sunday school lesson, where Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord. And Samuel does some serious Agag hewing in this episode. It's a very good scene, and the actor playing Agag steals every scene he's in. Does a great job conveying the evil of Agag. So, although there's no basis for a whole lot of details, like David being wounded by the spear from Goliath, also there's no basis really for David being explicitly called a bastard. We have a line from Psalm 51, but that doesn't necessarily mean what they seem to say it means. And that idea that David is a bastard, that comes on center stage in the series again and again. It keeps being stressed, whereas many details that are not in the actual story are skipped. So I don't like that there is such a non-explicit point being made so explicitly that it's difficult to miss, while you do miss some of the things that are told. But overall, this is a very, very well-made dramatization of the events of 1 Samuel 15, with a lot of imaginative embellishment, which holds viewers' attention. So do I recommend The House of David, the episode 1? Indeed I do. Not as something to replace the text, but as something to supplement the text, and introduce the characters. And people will definitely get a better idea of the family tensions going on, some of which are biblically expressed, and some of which are entirely from the director's imagination or from the screenwriter's imagination. But it is a well-made dramatization of the events of 1 Samuel 15. Of course, it does not take an hour to tell the story of 1 Samuel 15, and so in the hour episode, you do get a lot of non-biblical things. But I think that overall, the depictions are more or less consistent, with one exception of David being a bastard. The depictions are consistent with the characters that we see. Ishmael is a jerk, Jonathan is courageous, David is a David, and Saul is Saul. And with that, good night.